This takes a lot of effort on your side as far as overseeing the medications and the doctor's visits. Has that become just a huge standard part of your life after your child has been diagnosed with drug-resistant epilepsy?
Oh yeah.
I think our world literally revolves around making sure that they're okay. And we sometimes forget. We forget, and I think for me, the biggest thing was the amount of things my kids missed out on. Sorry.
Okay.
Bella didn't go to her first sleepover until she was in 7th grade. I couldn't let her. I couldn't. She didn't know what it was like to go to a sleepover. I threatened to camp outside in their parking lot, and my husband said no. And the only thing that made me feel better was knowing that the dad of her friend grew up with a brother with epilepsy. But knowing that, you know, in 5th grade and 6th grade and 4th grade and all of these things were happening that she didn't get to do. Holidays that were missed because you're so focused on healthcare that, oh, it's 4th of July. Oh, it's Halloween. Well, they can't go out because they've had so many seizures today. And how do you tell that to a 3rd grader who has the costume and ready to go? Because that was Ethan. And I'm like, buddy, you can't. We just can't. And you offer to put him in a wagon, but he doesn't want to go in the wagon because all of his other friends are walking. And why does he have to be in the wagon? And I think that is probably, for me, the biggest thing that I've missed out on and that they've missed out on. They didn't get to have a normal childhood.
When Bennett first became sick, it became so overwhelming that I had to quit my corporate job. We had several extended stays in the hospital where I would spend the night with him. And on one particular day, we had been discharged from the hospital. Bennett seized as we were leaving. My husband had to change his clothes. We went to the grocery store, and we're walking through the grocery store, and my husband's walking beside me, and I said, "It's like everyone's getting ready for a cookout." And he said, "Linz, it's the 4th of July." And I had absolutely no idea.
The thing about epilepsy, uncontrolled seizure epilepsy, is that it's a lifelong commitment. Eric has memory issues sometimes and forgets his meds sometimes. So the cure for that, the thing we try to do, he calls me every morning at 5:30 and we talk through him taking his medications. You know, he gets something to eat and then he takes his medications, and then, you know, if he has to work, he gets ready for work. If he's not working that day, he goes, "Good night, Dad," and he goes back and takes a nap. But that's a lifelong commitment. And there's so many other, besides seizures, there's so many other issues that you have to be aware of as we're finding out as time goes on.
When did y'all first hear of VNS therapy, and what were y'all's first reactions to it?
Okay, so Eric had seizures for 11 years, many medication changes, you know, putting them together, everything else, and we were kind of desperate. His seizures were at that point were impaired awareness seizures, so he'd come out of one fog and go immediately into another fog, so we needed something. And so they told us about this, and we went in and he had the procedure done, and it helped. It helped a lot.
What was it like for you?
Bennett's seizures, once they started, they increased in frequency and duration, so they became very intense very quickly. And before Bennett started seizing, we had a normally developing 18-month-old child, and then the seizures started and Bennett started to slip away. So we were on this journey where we tried different medications and nothing seemed to be working, and then we tried combining the medications and different combinations of those medications. And we made an appointment to speak to the neurologist, and that's when we first heard about VNS therapy. So we didn't jump right into it. You know, we kind of did our research as well and looked into it, tried to find out, you know, what the plan was, how does this work, how does this function, why would it work, and try to understand it. But in the end, it was the decision we made together as a family, and Bennett has also seen improvement and a reduction in seizures from the therapies.
So mine was probably the most radical, and I was like, no, just not gonna happen. Bella, as a 5th grader, did the research and said, I wanna try this. We have been very fortunate that we've been able to teach her to advocate for herself, to look at what's going on and to really kind of understand her medications, the treatments and everything else. And so when we found out about it, I was like, no, this is just something else that we're gonna try and it's gonna fail. Because as a parent, going through medications that we've tried and failed, that's kind of what I was used to. And she's like, no, I wanna try this. And then my husband was like, well, I'm kind of on Bella's side with this, we're gonna try it. And I went in completely like, okay, fine, whatever, if it doesn't work, it's not on me. Now, I like to try to like take the credit for it though, because of the radical improvements that we have seen in our family. But the reality of it is I was terrified of it. I was terrified of another failure, really.